I am really honoured to be here. The Right to Sight journey started in 2006. Like yourselves, I'm an ophthalmologist. I came across some statistics that were quite harrowing. So what I did was I decided that I would found an organisation by ophthalmologists for ophthalmologists. I launched Right to Sight in the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland. When I started there, we had 120 Norwegians. I used to read the Norwegian Dagbladet every day, and we had seriously good fun. But that college gave me a global outlook. It broke down the boundaries. And I don't see any difference between my colleagues in Africa struggling and my patients in Africa. And that is what undermines everything we do, the right to sight. Did you know that there are over 45 million people who are blind? But imagine, 20 million are blind due to a lack of a cataract operation. And so what that means is that only an ophthalmologist can solve the problem. This problem has been with us since the Dark Ages, since man was made. But now we've technology. Everybody in this room is living for the first time in history when technology means that we can finally eliminate this needless cataract blindness. When your esteemed ophthalmologist who was here earlier, Dr. Jan Yves Burge, was probably starting in Norway as an ophthalmologist, I doubt that he had anything more than a very strong intracapsular cataract extraction technique. He certainly did not have SLT for glaucoma, and he had to see patients going blind after harrowing surgery. Well, this generation is different, and we have to bring this solution to the world. How many of you see operations like this? Cataracts like this? But how come it is the hardest profession to get into? The most sought after, the most lucrative. And yet look at this slide, in Africa, there are no ophthalmologists. So why? That's what Right to Sight was formed to find out. I met world experts, I went out to Malawi. I discovered that there was a better operation than the extracapsular technique for a rock-hard cataract with calcium in the middle, and that's called 6, small incision. I'm old enough to have learned with extra caps, so I went out and picked it up in a day or two. A lot of young ophthalmologists in this room can only do phaco, and that is the best operation for a softer cataract. Those blindness statistics are for patients whose vision is worse than 3/60. They're not for the normal patients we generally look after. So why does nobody want to be an ophthalmologist in Africa? On my first day there, I went to a camp. Pretend I'm an African ophthalmologist. I had to look at this man, he was 46. And I had to say to him, there is only room for you in the bus if you are blind in both eyes. But look at his right eye. He was able to walk into the room holding furniture. He could see 6:36. He had 5 children, and we had to leave him there because he was not legally blind in both eyes. Imagine. And then I saw a girl, age 17, with a cup-disc ratio of this. I turned around to the doctor I was working with, Nick Metcalf. I said, you know, this is terrible. Where do we do the fields? Let's get her drops. He said, shh, shh. We don't have any glaucoma service in Malawi. She was 17. So why would you want to be an ophthalmologist if you cannot cure the patients you chose to become a doctor for? I went to India where I discovered they could develop a great career path. Because who wants to be an ophthalmologist if you can't buy a nice handbag or a nice car? So that's important. So what we did first was we spent 4 years in Right to Sight, partnering other organisations in Africa. The average surgeon did 3 operations a week. So for 4 years we trained up management teams to go into the hospitals and bring in the volume through high quality. Once the volume of patients came right up, we reached more blind, but better still, we were able to use a profit from those who could pay to pay for the poor patients, the Aravan model. After 2 years, each hospital became completely self-sustainable and did not need any more charity. We 22 programs, 8 African countries. I raised over €5 million. Ireland in those days had a lot of money. We spent only 50 to 100,000 per program. This is a very inexpensive way of reaching a lot of blind people permanently. We bought transport for every unit because in Africa the patients need to get into the hospital. And if you have one surgeon doing 10 operations a day, 3 days a week, that is very inexpensive compared to a whole team doing 3 operations a week, the average in Africa in 2006. We were doing up to 80 patients in some days, and this man in the top right is an expert 6 surgeon, but he's not a doctor. And there are 147 of these technicians in Africa. These are an example of the hospitals we partnered, and in a nutshell, you go into a system, you work with a local passionate leader, and you bring up the quality. Once you have quality, over 2 years you bring up the volume, you bring down the cost, and you increase the number of blind people you can reach. This slide from 2008 shows you that we trained 187 hospital workers, not doctors. We used Indian experts initially in these programs. And this slide shows you in the pale green that in all of our programs we got volume up without training any more surgeons, just by capacity building and bringing down the cost. God forbid if Right to Sight disappears tomorrow, every year without any more investment, those programs are doing an extra 52,000 operations every year. They see 2.5 million operations in clinics, patients in total. They're sustainable. And we're all surgeons here. We want to fix things. One little example, a case history of how we work, in case you have a program you'd like somebody to go into. This is an old bank on the left in the Congo in Lubumbashi. They approached Aravind, and Aravind said, go to Right to Sight, because Right to Sight is in Africa. We chose the staff. We flew the staff from the Congo to India for 2 months and trained them up. That was in 2007. We now train them in Africa. And over 5 months, we converted a bank into a hospital. This is me out opening up the hospital to a lot of fanfare. Very small little high quality clinic. Do you know in Africa, the vast majority of hospitals don't even have an A scanner. Every patient gets the identical lens in the eye. So they don't want the surgery because they can't see well, they're discerning. We put in an optical shop that makes $700 a day, and that pays for free surgery for the poor. And I took this photograph on the first day of the first patient coming into that hospital. A very nice moment that everybody here can experience. So in a nutshell, if you put in high quality, and this can only be done by ophthalmologists, only ophthalmologists can lead the quality, the patients will come. If the patients come, the cost drops. Then you have money to pay for a good salary at the top of the ladder, and to pay for poor patients, and to pay for more equipment. We just took this out in Rwanda, and the patient volume doubled just by taking out the gateway. So I'm here today because now I've changed Right to Sight into an organisation focused on getting our colleagues around the world to work with our colleagues in Africa to bring up the quality. This solution can only be delivered by eye surgeons, nobody else. We've chosen 3 centres at the moment, 3 places, countries, Kenya, Cameroon and South Africa. And we opened up our first training centre in Kenya last August to train in Kenya in high quality 6 surgery. We now have surgeons in Kenya that are going out to the hospitals. This hospital was doing 900 operations a year and we got them up to 6,000. And on our website we have a nice video of one of our surgeons we've trained. We also have this hospital in Cameroon if anybody would like to visit a French-speaking hospital. So what are we doing? In a nutshell, we're bringing in quality. I understand you have a lot of SLT lasers in Norway. Well, the first one only came into Ireland last year. We had ALT. But I was at the American Academy 3 years ago when it was launched. I met Luminous and I immediately got 2 SLTs donated for Africa. We got them into Nairobi and into Durban before they even came to Ireland. Some of you may know that SLT in the African eye has got unprecedented results. And so what if it only helps 50% of them? That's 50% of people who will not go blind. And what about workshops? I met this girl, I'm also an oculoplastic surgeon, and I met her in Cameroon, but I couldn't operate because she had an infected ear. But I wouldn't operate, I would set up a teaching workshop and line up all the patients so we're transferring skills all the time. And this is where I would love a colleague to help me and go back to Cameroon instead. In Africa, with the HIV crisis, many children are kept out of school to walk their blind grandparents around because their parents have died from HIV. But guess what? HIV patients in Africa get free drugs worth $170 a month, over 3 million of them. How much is it going to cost to give them glaucoma drops? And so that's what Right to Sight is doing. We have launched the African Glaucoma Initiative. We are raising a global fund because every patient in Africa with HIV, malaria, TB also will have glaucoma, cataract, etc. And 8 out of 10 of us will have a cataract operation. So at the very least, we should try and help them access the Right to Sight. Thank you.